Discovery Center, and we're still under construction, so it's going to be a little, yeah, just to let you know, we're still here, and we're still doing stuff. And we're going to go off and look at some pretty interesting stuff in here today. First thing I want you to notice is we're coming along here. You see that, just come right on up here. You see that line, that road? That represents a ship, big ship. That line right there was the property line of the old cemetery that we're going into. And you start getting some pretty major differences between this spot and that spot. You can probably see them already. You notice, if you're standing over there, if you look back that way, you'll notice that the graves are in rows. Rows and rows and rows. It's also, if you look, well, you can tell me this, what's one major difference between this and that?
Hill, flat?
Hill, flat, exactly, totally, really. What we're heading into is a different kind of cemetery. And it's neat, actually. If you picture this in your head, just imagine an old cemetery in your head, right? You've probably got groupings of gravestones, trees, hills, meandering paths. The thing that you're imagining and the thing that's in your brain right now is a named thing. It's not a coincidence. It's not a happenstance. It's a happening. It's a signal of a major shift culturally in the way that people explored death. And I'm sorry that parts of this are going to be kind of dark, but we're standing in a graveyard, so it kind of comes with the turf, literally. What we're standing in and what we're moving into and what we're walking up is called a rural cemetery. That doesn't mean that it's, you know, way out in the sticks. It doesn't mean that it's this community cemetery for a small rural community. What it means is that the cemetery itself is separate from the community, from the city. Now, Elmwood Cemetery at that time, don't worry, there's nothing back here going to hurt you. It's not that late at night. Sorry, that was terrifying. Well, what we're looking at is a complete difference, a complete shift. So, and again, this is a little macabre, but during the Victorian period, people become fascinated with death. They became fascinated with a lot of things. The Victorians are nuts. Huge developments in technology, huge developments in medicine. People begin to understand how the human body works, how life happens, how things grow and develop, and why things are the way they are. In this period, for example, you could buy a bed frame that had a mild electric current in it because they figured out that people ran on electricity, and they thought, for some reason, that it'd be good for you to sleep on a bed that had a mild electric current in it, which it is not. So don't try it. Anybody tries to sell you one of those things, it's not a good deal. But this is the point. People are trying to figure and figure and figure. And one of the things that people start trying to figure is death. You know, how, like, here we've got this line, and it's this permanent line, right? But maybe it isn't. Maybe we can negotiate it. Maybe it's malleable. Maybe it's permeable. Maybe we can communicate, right? So at this juncture, this is the time when things like seances become really, really, really popular, right? It's a whole cultural shift. You've got seances, you've got mediums are doing a really good business at this point. You know, people that are trying to bridge that gap, you know, get between point A to point B kind of stuff. The cemetery that we're in is an example of that. The cemetery that we're in is a location, it's a destination, it's a place that you go to. Your average cemetery, if you think the one, say, at the pre-meeting house, that's your this period cemetery. It's a really basic, it's a place of reverence, it's an important place, but it's basically just a place where you put the dead people. When you're done with them, that's where they go, right? That's it. And prior to this whole thing happening, that's how it worked. And we're kind of back to that. That's how it works. Like, again, we've got the rows and the rows and the rows. That's kind of how it works now. At this point, though, people are coming out to the cemetery. You're going to bring your kids. You're going to pack a picnic. You're going to drive out of the city. The city's where day-to-day normal life is, right? That's where you get up in the morning, you have a cup of tea, you go to work, you pay the bills, all the normal run-of-the-mill stuff. You leave that and you come out to a space, to a place for reflection, a spot for different ideas, different kinds of connections. And there, you start trying to connect to the people that are already there, the people that have gone on before you. The fascinating thing is that the conversation is not one-sided. As people in the same time period begin realizing that people are going to be coming to their graves for generations, they begin trying to communicate with the people that are going to come see them. I don't want to freak you out or anything, but right now you're surrounded by hundreds of people who are trying to connect with you. Say, look at me, I'm different, I have a story, I'm neat. I built my grave out of metal because I'm different and I thought that was a neat idea. I built mine this way because I wanted your attention. Here's a perfect place to start. So the Sumner trip. Right off the bat, and some of this is going to seem really obvious, but that's okay. Because obvious is kind of the point. Oh, Lauren, you jumped over here.
So is this, like, it was flat terrain
There's a bit of a hill here anyway, but it gets sculpted.
Okay.
Sculpted, right?
Okay.
It gets landscaped. Like the path that we just walked up, you see how it curves like that?
Yeah.
Somebody thought of that.
Yeah.
There's a really important thing to keep on your mind while we're doing this, is that everything that's around you right now is there for a reason. Somebody put it there. The curve in the road, the tree behind you, and the summer crypt is another, again, a great example of this. So we've got a crypt right off the bat. You probably noticed it, probably one of the first things you noticed when we started walking up the hill. And that's the point. You're supposed to notice it. It's not just a stone, it's not just built down or set aside. It is a big structure, it's an edifice. And look where it is. It's not way back in the corner, it's not over here, it's not over there. Look, we're at an intersection. The road comes up here, road comes up here, road comes up here. It's a meeting place, that's the point. It's a central place. It's a place where more people are going to see it and be affected by it. And the other interesting thing too, I mean, again, we're talking about, we are talking about a final resting place. In some cases, you might expect there to be, gargoyles and scary things and a lot of black wrought iron, but it's not. It's actually it's pleasant. I mean, really look at it. When the sun hits this, it's really kind of gorgeous. We've got light rock. We've even got lighter gray granite. This isn't a weighty, imposing, frightening thing. These people aren't trying to beat you over the head with anything. They're just saying, hey, look, we're the Summer family, and we built this thing. So come see us. Right? Check it out. And we are. That's happening right now. That's the crazy thing. Is it's totally working. We're helping them do it, right? Now, as we're sort of moving along, we'll head on this way. If I could get you, as we're walking along here, to just sort of have a look at some of the grave markers that we see. And while you're looking, just sort of note if some of them grab your eye a little bit. Because the interesting thing is they're doing that on purpose. Like if you look down here, we've got our smaller stones, we've got our wider stones, we've got our taller stones, we've got stones that have urns on top of them. And those urns grab your eye. But then we get even differences. So you can look down further here, you see those urns, and then down there, you see the one with the vase on top? That's there to catch your attention. And it does, right? Look even further than that. You see the one with the sphere on top? It doesn't necessarily mean that that guy loved spears. It just means that it's going to be different. It's going to set you apart. It's going to be the thing that allows you to connect, grab the attention of the person that you're looking for, and begin that dialogue, or at least allow you an entry into beginning that dialogue. If we keep on heading this way, just have a look around and tell me if you can spot a grave marker that really stands out. Something that just completely grabs a hold of you. Keep on looking. Keep on looking. Do you see it? Yeah. Yeah. There's no missing it, is there? You see what I'm talking about? So, the person that built this, phase one of their plan just functioned perfectly. They've got your attention, and they're holding on to it. Come on right down here. Don't be shy. Well, you can be shy if you want to be. I'm not here to tell you how to live your life, but just come on down here anyway. So phase one of the plan worked perfectly. They've got your attention, we've got your attention, you're looking at it because of that. Anybody ever seen a grave marker that looks like that? No, and that's entirely the point. He wants to stand out completely. He's actually kind of quieting down the people around him, right? It's like it draws your attention. Here's the next stage, right? Here's phase two of the plan. Now we're captured by it. We're looking into it. When we look at this, what way are we looking?
Up.
Up. That's the whole point. You are looking up at this person, and you can't help it. He's got you. Think about, well, first of all, this is the grave of Charles Record. Record built the Record Foundry, so Record Street, Foundry Street. That's this person, out-of-the-box thinker, interesting guy, but you are going to look up to Charles Record. A lot of graves you see, they're down on the ground, you walk past them down the air, right? This, no. Think about this for a second. A fellow that's been dead for about 100 years just made you move. Not just that, but the way that he made you move was to show a mark of respect to him. And just in case you think I'm making this up, or this is just some kind of one-off crazy coincidence, let's see our friend Gibbon down here, because he's doing the exact same thing. If it works, why not, right?
So that one predates this one?
Yeah, yes it does. So Gibbon, I actually happen to live on Gibbon Drive, which is kind of funny, because it's named after this fellow. Gibbon made his money in laundry. Does anybody know where the Vale laundry is? Yeah? He started that. It was originally Gibbon's. Well, come on, he won't bite you, I promise. Come right on over. Down. So again, we're doing the exact same thing here. He could have, totally could have, just continued with the slope of the hill, right? You can see it's right there. He could have built into that and just he would have been down and all this, but he says, no, we're building up, right? Here we are, we're in our nice fortified plot. We've got this great big granite structure that's going to be there for a real long time. and we are looking up to the given family. Now next to that, and this is another interesting part of the conversation that we're having today, we've got granite, but we've also got other building materials. So come right on in here to see if you can. This is an interesting little exercise. Granite's great, right? Granite is solid, granite is hard, but it's tough to carve. Softer materials. You know, you've got your soapstones, you've got your alabaster, limestone, all of those. They're easier to carve, but they wear down more quickly. Can anybody make out the description on this first little headstone for Doris? July 202. I think I can make a July.
Looks like 4 months and something.
Maybe.
4 months, 14 days, something like that.
Here's the thing: this is hard. Is the point, right? This is difficult because it's a more porous material. It's a softer material. It's a material that's going to wear down more rapidly. The other side of the coin is that when it's new, it's brilliant. It's beautiful. It shines, and also it's easier to carve. So if you want to leave intricate, ornate, really ornate stuff and not pay through the nose, this is the way to do it. One of the ways to do it. Another great example of the difference in building materials right over here. I'm trying to Brown. On our friend, well, the Ella Brown, 1887. Roll the date for Martha Cook, 1887. They're contemporary stones, but they're different building materials. It makes a big difference, right? Yeah. So another interesting thing.
Cost would have been likely different as well.
Pardon me?
Cost.
Cost would, yes, absolutely. That makes a difference as well. So it's you're trying to negotiate these challenging things, right? You want to leave something behind that memorializes you well. If you're going to build something a little bit cheaper, but also potentially a little more ornate, blah, 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 you run the risk of it not being able to communicate for you past, say 2 generations, right? But if you build something, you just wait and see some of the stuff we're going to see, and you'll see what people have done to be remembered. Oh, speaking of, so here we come to our friend. Has anybody heard of a gentleman by the name, a couple of you have, so don't chime in, but has anybody heard of a fellow by the name of Oliver Jones? No, that's okay. Don't feel bad. It's all right that you haven't heard of Oliver Jones. Oliver Jones, in his time, would be kind of like if I said, has anybody heard of a fellow named J.D. Irving? We've all heard of J.D. Irving. There's no question of who I'm talking about, right? You're not like, is that the J.D. Irving that had the thing down on the... No, we know who that is. This, Jones, same kind of a deal. If this was 100 years ago in Moncton and you said Oliver Jones, there's no question who you're talking about. It's pretty definite. One of the most interesting, complicated, occasionally reviled, wealthiest, most powerful people that's ever lived in Moncton. Fascinating character. Had 3 wives. May or may not have killed 2 of them. May or may not have killed the guy over gambling debt in his own house. He was an interesting dude. He owned most of what's now Moncton. He tried to foreclose on the Free Meeting House at one point, which is not a nice thing to do. Later, after that, he actually built funded for the most part the First Baptist Church, and the argument, the joke at the time was that he was trying to buy his way into heaven, right? Because he was not necessarily Moncton's most beloved citizen. He was kind of like our version of Scrooge. The neat thing, one of the neat things about him and this crypt is what he's not saying to you. You remember the first crypt we looked at, the Sumner crypt? It was kind of light and fun. It's like baseball versus football, right? It's up there, and it's pretty and it's fun. This is solid. Look at the size of the stones. They're uniform, they're big, they're heavy. This is built like a bomb shelter. It probably withstand the nuclear, it is solid. Before he passed away, a little while before he passed away, Jones he refurbished the crypt. He put $15,000 into the crypt.
What year are we talking about?
Oh, right off the top of my head.
Oh, he died way back in probably the 1870s.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money anyway, and it's a lot of money back then. He and another fellow founded the Bank of Westmoreland. They capitalized the Bank of Westmoreland with $30,000 in gold, which he brought from St. John. The guy he was a mover and
Deep
shaker.
pockets.
Anywho, does it look as though 15 grand's been put into this? It's because it's not for you to see. It's inside. There's Italian marble, it's etched, it's the whole 9 yards.
Wow.
But here's what Oliver Jones is saying. He's saying, people of Moncton, I don't need to impress you. I am Oliver freaking Jones. I don't need to impress anybody. The stuff that I've got is for me and my 22 children. And yes, he had between 17 and 22, depending on what source you read. He had a lot of kids and 3 wives. So his wives are buried in here. A lot of his kids are buried in here. He's buried in here. But this is kind of the thing. It's for him, not for you. You can drive by and be impressed. It's like Ozymandias, look upon my works, ye mighty in despair. But The real key is inside of it, and that's the message is that he's not going to say anything. Pushing on, we're going to come to two of my favorite things in the entire graveyard. Just before we go too far, actually, can you see these two columns here? Of course, yeah, they're gigantic. See the one on the left? The red one? The one on the right? The gray one? Do those look kind of similar to you? Do they look really similar to you? Like really, really, really practically identical to you?
That one looks a little smaller.
That's exactly it. That one is a little bit smaller. Do you think these guys might have known each other? Brothers. Same thing in some cases, but they're brothers. These are the Peters. Come on down here and meet the Peters. Most people just try to keep up with the Joneses, so that's almost impossible. They just try to keep up with the Peters, right? Now you'll notice, this is an important thing to keep in mind. Graveyard real estate is the same as regular real estate. The higher up the hill you are, the more prominent you are, the more expensive the plot. So where has this Peters built his obelisk? He's up, right? Not way, way, way up, but he's up. Whereas our other friend Peters got his lower, but bigger, right? I don't know if the guy had column issues or whatever, but anyway, it's something going on here. And again, they're brothers. They really are. So over here we've got Alfred E. Peters. I keep on trying to call him Alfred E. Newman, but that's definitely not his name. Alfred E. Peters formed the Peters Lock Company, which they made combination locks. He built a factory here in Moncton. He did very well with it. He built another factory. He did pretty well with this whole lock thing until it was discovered, like an early form of computer hacker, except for these guys just messed with locks, and it was discovered that you could actually circumvent the lock pretty easily, and then it didn't go very well for him. But he took the capital that he had made in building the locks, and with another brother of his, they purchased the record foundry. Remember the records we were talking about? They purchased the record foundry when it was kind of on hard times. Under his guidance and his brother, they built it into a real going concern. They tripled the size. It was a huge deal. They also hired their brother Oswald to look after the books. He was an accountant. So think about this, right? You're the younger brother, and we know he's about 10 years younger. You're the younger brother. You've got these two big muckety mucks that are your older brothers that have been lording it over you. Remember that time you stole my blocks when we were 8, right? Now they're running the show, right? They're calling the shots. Everybody knows them. They're making a fortune. Bada, 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 bada. So when it gets to be your opportunity to give them one of these in an incredibly permanent way, bada bing, bada bang, bada boom. This is sibling rivalry memorialized forever in granite. So, and keeping this in mind too, we'll push on up here. Keep in mind this rise, because this is important. Again, the higher up we go, the more prominent we probably are, the more expensive we probably are, the bigger a deal it is. So as we mosey on up here, also just before we get talking about that, this row, if you were looking stones right here, the smaller ones that are running up the center kind of, those are modern. Some of them actually aren't occupied yet. So sort of discount those while we're talking about what we're talking about here. As we move higher up the hill, we do get more prominent. The problem is that let's say that you can afford to be at this level, right? Well, everybody else that can afford to be at that level is also going to be at that level. So you still need to find a way to stand out. You need to do something different. You need to do something interesting. And so this is where we start getting bigger and bigger. We've already seen the biggest column in the entire place. But as we move up, we start seeing bigger ones. Again, this guy's higher up the hill. He doesn't need a big column to show up. You have a nice one here. You see a simple sandstone one here, kind of rough, but a little bit bigger. Moving on, we're starting to move into different materials. People trying to stand out even more. Taller columns, more ornate columns. You look at the red granite one over here, with the rig on the top of it here. And bigger and more robust, solid structures, right? The message being, yeah, I'm up here, but I'm also better than the guy that's to the left and right. Again, trying to keep up with the Joneses, which is in this case a little bit easier. So the higher up we go, and knowing what you now know about cemeteries and about the monuments in them, understanding that as you do now, as we move up and move up and move up, we begin to approach the top of the hill, and one heck of a very big monument. So knowing what you do now, would you agree that this guy was probably a fairly big deal? Does that seem like a reasonable assertion?
Yeah.
Yeah? Come on over. Does the name Humphrey ring a bell? Or does the words Humphrey Woolen Mill,
Which is right over there.
which is right over there.
Yeah.
The community that you're standing in, Sunny Brae, to a great degree develops because there's a mill, the Humphrey Woolen Mill. This guy because of that name and what he did, ends up to a great degree building the community, resulting in the community that's around us right now. He knew he was a big deal. That's why we've got, and knowing again what you do. So we've got really ornate carving up here, right? Also really ornate carving in granite, which is hard, so and also more costly. Also a great big monument right here, and then down here a base stone that's like 2 elephants worth of rock. This is a solid, sturdy memorial to a guy that knew he had clout, a lot of clout.
This is probably the highest point in the area. Is it the top of
Almost.
that one?
Almost. We've got one that we'll talk about him in a sec. Also, one just a neat thing to look at here. Here we have the Harris family. That sort of short-circuited the process. So here we have Humphrey built on almost the very, almost the very tallest point, almost the very highest point in the graveyard. Harris would have bought a plot that was sloping down from this, but Harris wasn't going to mess around. Well, he built a retaining wall. So on the retaining wall, now he can be at the same level by building up the ground.
Around.
Yeah, so now he's up there too. He's about, well, it's the same level as Humphrey's at. And he's also got more stuff on there, which is neat. But he's sort of short-circuited the system, right? He bought the lower land, but he built it up, and now, I'm on the same level as Mr. Humphrey, so I'm pretty awesome. We're going to end with a grave and a marker that pulls together everything that we've been talking about so far. Everything that, everything that we've discussed. So we move over here to the Dunlap grave. This right here, this is the full meal deal. This is everything that we've talked about put together and then some. We're standing in front of it. Which way are we looking? Up. And boy, howdy are we ever. We've got ornate carving, very ornate carving. We've got, I think this is alabaster. Alabaster's not cheap, and when it's newer, when it's fresh, absolutely gorgeous. What do we got here? Stairs. And remember I said we were at the top of the hill? I lied. These guys made their own top of the hill. They are up from the top. The top of their hill is higher than the top of everybody else's. The Dunlap family was the richest, well, James Dunlap was the richest person in Moncton in his day. And it's very difficult to express what modern, what that would work out to in modern funds. He owned a dock, he built one of the first big halls in Moncton. He was, well, this should tell you, he was doing pretty well. Building up like this though, and setting, again, at the very, very top, and it's also a little earlier than those graves, so he was planning ahead. He knew that, this was the highest point, the biggest statement that he could make to future generations, to anybody. The way that we gain access to the tomb is by going up, and try this, because this is something, you'll feel what I'm talking about. As you come up, you've got this right in front of you. Like, it's imposing, and it's coming at you, and you are stepping up to it. And that does something to you. Like, I mean, just in the back of your mind, it hits you. It's an experience. Another thing, again, with the materials that we're talking about, if I get you guys to come in here a little bit closer, you don't actually have to come up here. You'll start to notice as you get closer and closer, I think these are forget-me-nots, which also makes a lot of sense, the flowers that are carved in here. So again, remember we were talking about the building materials you choose and the building materials you use. Yeah, you can carve in these things a little bit easier, but also the longevity's not there. To come real in close, I want to show you this. We've got just barely visible. We've still got a couple of flowers here. Look over here and they're gone. Now, whether it's a trick in the weather, or the sun hits it, or anything, or just maybe that particular piece of rock is not as dense or solid as this, it could be a billion things and then some. But the point is that you didn't think you were going to go on a tour of a graveyard without a lesson in impermanence, did you? Because that's another neat thing about the grave too. When you build one of these things, you can't just take it down and build a new one when somebody new passes away, right? You have to bring people out to chisel and then new names on it. You come up, or you can stand over here if you want. The neat thing about this is they started running out of room, and you can see them do it. So here we have Arlette, who's right here. Arlette has her own line, daughter of James and Catherine Dunlap, born May 21st, 1841, died April 24th, 1886. Okay, we got a lot of room there. Sarah, daughter of James and Ellen, the second wife, Dunlap, died May 19th, 1855. No birth date, just the day. And also this guy. And this person too. Because we're running out of space, right? We have all this for one person, and then we have that about the same amount of space for like 2.5 people. So as you get further down, you're like, oh, you got to get this in there without, you know, it's tricky.
And they all have little markers.
Yes, they do, and again, and they're holding up very well. So we have, here's Sarah, here, back here is their son, Dr. James, and his second wife are buried up here. And I don't know where his wife is, to tell you the truth.
First wife, you mean?
Yeah, the first wife, her Kevin.
Maybe wherever she was from.
Maybe. I mean, somebody 1866. So anyway, but anyway, that's more or less. Does that make sense? I mean, it was kind of a quick and dirty exploration of what's going on out here.